It's really hard to review one without bringing up the other, and knowing my audience, I think it's important to begin with that statement. This is not the most in-depth review because truthfully, I didn't play this game as much as I wanted to for it to be an in-depth review. I personally won't be able to give much more time to it with school coming up and many other tasks severely draining my schedule. The reason I am making this video is because people have been asking me for a PES review for years now. So this is my PES review. Firstly, I'll start off by saying this review is mostly my club gameplay review because I didn't have time or interest to play the other modes. Master League is pound for pound one of the greatest offline modes in video game history. In my youth, I've easily put thousands of hours into it. I haven't touched the mode since 2013. If you have never tried it, it's probably worth looking into. If you are a yearly PES fan, it seems like there isn't much besides a new manager avatar and Euro 2020 mode inclusion. There is a lot of things I think PES gets right. The structure of my club is actually pretty fun. The ability to level up players is something that's sort of a wet dream for me. I love playing with my Serbian players and converting guys like Kolarov and some of the younger players into actual usable cards. This really isn't possible in FIFA where, every single year the amount of playable cards decreases and it becomes harder to obtain as the year progresses. PES gives you a decent team to begin with, and it gives you plenty of room to improve. From my 20 plus hours with the game this year and about 20 plus hours with the game last year, I feel like the game is rewarding enough, and if you pick up some decent results, you actually won't have too many problems assembling a decent team. To obtain a decent team in FIFA requires hundreds of hours or thousands of dollars. With scouts, you can also draft any player you desire in PES. Getting these desired scouts to craft some of the higher level players may prove to be a difficult task via the auction house. PES would greatly benefit from an auction house app similar to FIFA's web app. The tournament structure in PES is quite brilliant. They are constantly adding new tournaments and giving out decent rewards. I'm really surprised, and if I'm being honest, that FIFA hasn't stolen this idea completely from PES. Logging on daily to see what new tournaments are available is a real treat, considering Konami seems to be very generous with the prizes for accolades in these tournaments. Okay, jumping from the positive to the negative. Menus are relics of the past. The user interface is something that has needed an overhaul since I couldn't speak English. It can definitely be tricky when you are looking for something because it doesn't feel intuitive whatsoever. If PES ever really wants to compete with FIFA, they need to fix this problem as soon as possible in order for the game to be more accessible. However, my biggest problem comes from the wait time to find an opponent. I've waited anywhere from 5 to 15 minutes searching for an opponent. It is worth noting that I am in Canada and maybe other people have different experiences and lower waiting times. It depends on the mode, and it might have something to do with less people buying the season update this year. The biggest problem here for me is the missed opportunity. Why not allow the user to do some menu stuff while searching, like manage your squad, train your players, look at the auction house, etc. I feel like this wouldn't be that bad, but this is actually a major problem for people that don't have time to wait 15 minutes to find a single opponent. Connection is always a big talking point with these games. Firstly, I've played most of my games on stream, so sometimes I settled for a 2-bar connection. Out of the 20 plus games I've played, I've only had one truly unplayable game. I highly recommend playing on 3 bars if possible, even if it means waiting a bit longer. Once again, this might be easier for people in Europe and harder for someone like myself because I literally get matched with Brazilians every single game. At least for me, PES and FIFA connectivity issues are pretty on par. Both games have significant problems at times, and most of the time they should be playable. Okay, let's talk about gameplay, the most important part. PES gameplay is a lot slower than FIFA's. Much more focus is given on the setup. You can't really just close your eyes and aim the stick left or forward and know that every single pass is going through. The sacrifice in speed makes it pretty rewarding when you are able to maestro and dissect the defense with carefully crafted passing. PES was always a game that I found much more difficult than FIFA because it required much more manual input. I remember even when I was younger and I played PES, I would have no problem jumping onto FIFA and crushing my experienced FIFA friends. They were unable to do the same when they came onto PES. If you are brave, you can go fully manual, but it didn't quite work out for me. Maybe in my prime I could have gone back to manual, but I think it's going to be a very difficult transition for anyone that's coming from FIFA. I think to go full manual, you need a lot more practice, but overall, you can probably achieve much more control with your passing. Shooting to me in this game still feels a bit too much like a cutscene than an actual shot. I don't think I can say the same for FIFA. Dribbling is something that is a lot slower and harder to get the hang of than FIFA's dribbling. Some people hate that, some people love it. Now, the big elephant in the room, at least from my perspective, is the countless of people that will say PES gameplay is better than FIFA's. It really isn't. They both suck. They both have major problems, which I will now show you in my footage. I've broken down the key inconsistencies I found with my time in PES into a few different categories. The biggest one I will describe as unresponsiveness. Players seem to be unaware of passes, like this one, a simple pass to the right wing, and look at my player, he just completely forgets there's a ball in front of him. And now, if this was a one-off mistake, I wouldn't be too mad about it, but this happens quite often. Another example of this is players simply not understanding that a pass is coming towards them. I don't know what to call this, but it does happen often, and I have another clip of this. So I don't know if I'm the only one experiencing these things, but to me these seem like things over a year that would absolutely infuriate me. Here is an example of a player just not understanding how to defend. Kolarov with the armband, just keep your eye on him. Look where he's running. It really makes no sense. And I've caught my defenders doing these weird things several times. And I don't know if an experienced PES player can tell me if I have some sort of setting wrong or something. But to me, this is just unacceptable. I hate losing games like this and conceding goals like this. Here is another example of a player just for some reason not reacting to a pass. Not much more to say about that. I'll end this section on two more clips. This is another example of two different players for some reason, neither of them going to the ball, and then the third guy for some reason not locking on. And then this one actually goes my way, but I absolutely hate this. I do not want to score like this. To me, the unresponsiveness there, or the inability for the user to have input there, basically, is just not acceptable. Player runs is another thing I want to talk about. If you look at my right midfielder, I believe, right winger, that's Mbappe, he just stops running for some reason. Look at that space. Look at that beautiful opportunity for a run. I give him a through ball, and out of nowhere, he just dies. I don't know, he just gives up completely, and this is one of the best players in this game. So if you tell me I need a better player, I'm going to say absolutely not. Any grade school player should make that run. To me, these things are just really annoying, and it happened a lot. Here is another example. Torres on the top of your screen with his hand up, running, look at the space, and then out of nowhere goes to the middle. And that really, really bothers me when a guy like Torres does that kind of run. Here is an example. You can potentially argue my pass was not up to par, but I still feel like you don't have much of a case. The bigger thing you can argue, I think, is Mbappe, who just dead in his tracks, stops running when he has potentially an open tap-in. There is zero reason for him to stay back, and yet for some reason he does. Going into this, I knew about the meme that is PES refereeing, but it did come true, unfortunately. PES refereeing is absolutely in shambles. I mean, this is just two examples, but I could find hundreds if I really wanted to. PES refereeing needs to change with the new engine, hopefully. The next category I want to talk about is passing, and passing is a very tricky / touchy subject for some. Yes, I understand that PES passing is harder. Some people think passing should be easy, some people think it should be very difficult. I don't want to get too much into the theoretical, what passing should be in a football video game. I want to say, though, that simple passing should be simple, meaning that mistakes should be minimal. And when I, mess up a pass like this, which to me is a very straightforward, simple, I'm literally pointing left pass, and I concede a goal off this, it really bothers me. I will say that some of these mistakes definitely are mine, and I will take full accountability for that. If you are jumping from FIFA to PES, just understand that there will be a massive window where you have to adjust your whole, ideology of what passing should be and what it should feel like. In PES, you have to think almost a step ahead and really, be careful with your passes. In FIFA, not so much. In the intro video, I briefly talked about connection, and here is an example of a game that really had moments of really poor connection. This is unedited footage, obviously. I would highly recommend not playing this game on 2 bars. There are a lot of online inconsistencies with 2 bars. And then here is a game that was literally unplayable. I had to just log off because it was like this for 45 minutes, and I just asked my chat, I'm like, do you guys even want to watch me play this? And they're like, dude, don't torture yourself. So PES inconsistency might be, different on your area, but these are some of the issues I encountered. I think if I went every single game 3 bar, it wouldn't be too bad, but playing some games on 2 bar is definitely a no-no. The last category that really stood out to me gameplay-wise is something I want to just call clunkiness. Player animations and bodies running into each other. The physics at times just seem, I don't want to say outdated, but they just feel off. I don't know how else to put it. This is a very big problem in FIFA as well. I mean, you've seen my 3-hour video of FIFA glitches and just weird body contortion stuff. So I hope once again with the new Unreal Engine coming out and PES 2022 that this clunkiness will kind of get resolved. If you are a rational person, you will agree or you will disagree with my opinion. If you are a hardcore PES fanboy and can't accept my opinion, that's fine too. I actually don't hate you. In fact, I'm extremely jealous of anyone that finds great joy and fun in either PES or FIFA. I pay whatever it took to get a game that is 1/10 as good as Winning 11 was on the PlayStation 2. Now, after all this, you might think that I would probably tell you to avoid or not buy this game, and you would be very, very wrong. To me, the result of this game and FIFA is kind of the same. It's just a matter of perspective which one you prefer. There was a lot of times during my stream that I really genuinely enjoyed this game and was having a blast. I think given the right amount of time, you could enjoy or hate both of these games. They both have serious problems with hints of serious potential, unless by some miracle FIFA 21 is good, and I will be doing a review of that later. Funding Konami's Kickstarter this year for PES 2022 to me is a worthy investment within itself. I hate FIFA and EA, and I hate it with a passion that I desperately want and will do anything to see a competitor challenge for its throne. Having talked to one of the bigger Madden creators, I realized just how important keeping a competitor in the space really is. We are beyond doomed without PES. Some might ask, well, why would I pay $40 or €40 for the season update that's pretty much the same game as last year? To that I would counter, why would you pay €70 for a worse or just as bad version of FIFA as the past 3 years? If you don't have or don't want to spend €40 on the game, just wait a month for the price to drop in half or wait for the free light version to drop. I think everyone should give this game a chance that is a real football fan before you write it off. Sadly, to me, it seems like I'm going into my 4th consecutive year without a football game that I can really sink my teeth into. With such a heavy focus on school for now, that might not be the worst thing for me. Anyways, I hope you found my video informative, and if you did, drop a like and sub, and I'll see you next time. Peace.